Oh, I got the sniffles. So good. It's actually afternoon now. February 25th, Thursday, here in South Central Alabama. And what the job today is I'm going to put a post up. I'm going to put a post up. So I'm going to tie a post up so I can tie the smoke flap lines over into the front. These lines, according to Tipis.com, according to Nomadic's Tipis, they're supposed to be 15 feet, but I only got 13 feet, so I guess the post should be out here maybe. But it's going to be fine. It's a pretty big post. Nice cedar post, and that was trimmed down and taken out. So I know, kind of a boring topic, huh? Digging a hole, putting in a post. I'm gonna probably ramble on and say a bunch of different stuff, but one of the things is, see, I'm not trying to reenact being an Indian. I see particularly some German groups that have teepees. They like to dress up and sing and chant and dance and role play, I guess. I guess that's called LARPing, live action role play. Mountain Men Rendezvous do reenactings of the basically early 1800s, 1830-ish, and a lot of them use teepees. A lot of native nations participate in those too, especially out west in the western states, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana. But I just think the teepee is the most marvelous invented recreational vehicle around. Now, I'm not going to be moving it, so it's not going to be, I'm going to be like an RV person that goes to the campground and then they just park there. They don't really drive around too much, but so anyway, this shouldn't take too long. It's really nice sand. Oh, it's really easy digging. I mean, I don't even have to put any effort into it. I'm going to go down pretty far, sink this in the ground pretty good. But and I'm not a person that cares much for glamping. People buy 6, 8, 10 of these and then they make them up real nice and rent them out as like hotels. Glamorous camping, and I don't do that, but I think I'm down deep enough. Let me see how this is. Ooh. Well, I'm going to kind of lean it out, make sure my ropes reach it. I suppose if you look at the, well, I guess that's going to be okay. I suppose if you look at the teepee door, I've added a couple of sticks to the outside. Nomadic's teepee has a different method where they put a one pole up the side and they tie off the other side so you can open it like a door. And then they also sell these doors that have a zipper down the middle, and I think with a mosquito screen also. Those are primarily for glamping type situations, but I opted for this kind of door, but I have to modify those poles because they slide out too much. I'm going to have to cut notches in and then to tie the ribbons in and make them work like that. I think I'm going to take out just a little bit more. Boy, that is just about the easiest hole I've ever dug with post hole diggers in my life. The sand is in this part of the yard is really perfect. Other parts of the yard, not so much. Maybe this was a beach once upon a time, eh? So, okay, I want to get a post and tamp that down. I'm going to go way over there. I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to line it up a little bit better with the main line of the front. Oh, I got almost too big of a stick. I'm not putting any rocks in. I can always do that later because this is so easy to dig that I'm not too concerned about that right now. Yeah, my topic. I decided to look up Tipi in Wikipedia, and you know, one of the most disputed things I've found on YouTube is that especially Native Nations people, they go in and they tell people it's spelled T-I-P-I, not T-E whatever, T-E-P-E-E, T-E-E-P-E-E. In Czechoslovakia they spell it T-Y-P-I, just to let you know. But I went into Wikipedia, and Wikipedia has these parts where you can go and see the history of how it was updated and by who, and then there's these discussions. And the most heated discussion in there is how the word is spelled, which I think is kind of silly. What's important is how it's pronounced. Now, there's one, the last entry was instead of T-I-P-I or T-E-P-E-E or T-E-E-P-E-E, it was T-H-I-P-I. Now, I've seen that in another linguistic source for how it's spelled, and because you know, in linguistics, by the way, they have an international alphabet. You know, it may use letters from different languages. To my best of my knowledge, it doesn't use like Chinese characters, but so there's a lot more letters in the world than there are the 26 letters in the American English alphabet. So they let's see how I can explain this. See, sounds in your mouth are labial with your lips, they're labial with your tongue, they're fricative. There's parts where you put your tongue on the roof of your mouth or you touch your teeth. There's guttural sounds, and linguistics have all these parts of the mouth mapped out. They don't care if you spell it however your local language spells a word. They look at how the actual physical function of the mouth and throat and tongue are from a side view, by the way. And so they have, I saw this at one place and I can't find it again, but they have written down Thipi. And in Lakota, in the Lakota language, they have a gutturals, and they more pronounced gutturals than German and English, and they have nasal sounds where you talk through your nose too. So, and they have a particular N with a tail on the end, so it's like an AN, like a NG almost, but not quite NG, like ing, biking, but their N is like but it doesn't have that full ing sound in it. It's just got this nasal thing in. So, and I'm not great at that at all, and I do not represent Lakota people. So and they can correct me, not a problem. Easy game, piece of cake, all day long. However, just to let you know, I do study the language, and there are various dialects in Lakota. In Lakota itself, not including Nakota and Dakota, but just like in Cree, Cree has a wide variety of languages from one end of Canada to the other. Same with Ojibwe. And I study a lot of Ojibwe. And there are the eastern people, the eastern Ojibwe, you have a hard time understanding them compared to the Minnesota ones, which seems to be more clear. And there's probably all kinds of reasons why that's true. But at any rate, one of the biggest arguments is over how to spell the word. So Stephen Return Riggs made the first Lakota or Dakota dictionary, English Dakota dictionary in 1852, if I recall right. But there was a missionary before him in, like, I want to say 1823, named Samuel. Oh geez, oh boy, when you get old you forget a lot of names, particularly. I forgot that. Anyway, there's these two guys and they have a last name, in about 1823 where they're writing down the Dakota language, so they can apostolize, Christianize, baptize, change, convert I'm not going to say those words, the people that they thought were less than them. And so it goes by pronunciation, and both of those guys, 1820 and 1850s, they have a phonetic language of English that is pretty close to English of today, but it's not exactly the same. So when you read these things, you have to put yourself back in time to when they're written down. But Tipi. Oh, I can't say it very well, but anyway, there's a little bit of an H after the T, but not much. But also this guy on Wikipedia, he explained that the Thipi was the place of rest, and that could include like a cemetery or where people were placed after they died. So, I don't want to argue over how it's spelled, but I will make a video about that a little bit more. But what I wanted to say here was that's pretty solid, and now I'll tie it down. Kind of want to get it tight. And I'm going to go over here and tie it off over here. And I'm going to use what's called a timber hitch. I'm going to do two of them. Kind of make a knot out of a timber hitch, which is like tying your shoes, but adding an extra little half hitch in there. So that ought to hold that out there for a while. I'm going to adjust that one teepee pole a little bit to bring it around a little bit more, make it more uniform. A little bit better. So I'm a old guy, and you know, I've been doing this so long. I wanted to say that I've watched every video on YouTube regarding teepees, whether they're real teepees or some kind of tarpy situation. I will tell you so that you don't waste time if you want to learn about teepees in a better way, because there's like 160, 200 real teepee videos, and they range from Europe to Australia, with Canada and United States in between. I will be making a teepee. I've downloaded a bunch of pictures of doors to illustrate the different kinds of doors that you can put on. I was started off this video saying I'm not reenacting these. This is like, I don't know, moment of Zen or something. I just have gotten to where I really just love them, period. That's all there is to it. Okay, so I've been doing this now for 46 years, but about 40 of those years I spent only on the Sioux style teepee, and I did a couple of little conicals when I went out hunting. I'd take a folding saw and cut down some oak saplings, particularly around Fort Leonard Wood in the Mark Twain National Forest, and I carried a painter's drop cloth, and I would just make a 8 poles, to wrap that over, leave the front open, and put a fire out front and sleep on the ground, so while I was hunting I didn't have to walk in 2 miles to my hunting spot. Anyway, I've been doing this for 46 years, and if you look at Nomadic's teepees, they started in 1970, I started in 1980. I've looked at all the videos, and I will recommend that the Nomadic's teepee is the best one by far for instructing on how to put them up. Not for how to cut them out or anything like that, but how to put them up. By far, there's a couple of people that come close. Okay, the other one is the gray-bearded green beret. He does a pretty good series. He breaks them down into individual parts, and then he also has a big long video. Same with the Nomadic's teepees. They break down different parts, and then they have one big long video. And then there's Greg Ovens from Rocky Mountain Bushcraft, I think. He has 4 videos up on how he puts up. He didn't know what he was doing at all, let me tell you, but he finally got it up. And then he had one where he puts them all together. So he's got 5 videos. But the best one is Nomadic's teepee. The second best is gray-bearded green beret. The other people that are putting up tarpies and teepees and stuff like that, they're not showing a whole lot. Now, another thing is that in the Sioux style, it's based on putting up a tripod and then laying the sticks in a very specific order. And not all tribes do that. And I've been looking at some Cree and, I can't remember who else, Crow, Blackfoot, and then I saw Mandan Hidatsa Arikara up in Minot, North Dakota. They put one up, and they put the poles in differently, and they kind of spiral them around, and each time they put in a pole, they wrap around the rope, and they put in another pole, they wrap around the rope and hold it up. It's held up by the rope more than it is by laying it into the crotch. So yesterday I finally found another video by a school in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and they put up a 4-pole base, and they put in the poles in an order where they leaned them all in the front, but they're not leaning into a crotch. And so each pole they put up, they wrapped around the rope. It ends up with a lot of rope in that place, okay? But I'm going to demonstrate all these different kinds of teepees in videos that I make. Another one is the Yakima teepee. Now, I don't know, haven't been to the Yakimas, all right? Yakimas, I'm sorry, people. But in the Loudon book, the Yakima teepee is 2 poles to the front and 1 to the rear. And I have made a lot of conicals doing that technique before I even heard before I even heard that Yakimas made teepees like that. But anyway, so much for what I got to say. Let's quit. Let's shut her down. Put everything away. Have a good day. Teepee on.